My name is Esan Looper, and I'm the second son of Leroy Looper. Some of you may be familiar with the name, just so I can get a sense of the crowd, who at least knows the name, Leroy Looper. Okay, good. So I've got a few folks who didn't raise their hands, so this is why I think it's important for you to know Leroy Looper. He's someone in this context who happens to be black and in the Tenderloin, so it fits. It's true that he was black to a fault. He would support folks saying, I know I'm supporting them because they're black, that's it, whether they're right or wrong. But if you do know him, you know in the context of what happened, he was not picking and choosing. If you were about doing what was right for the Tenderloin, he was about you. So, one of the things that happens to be true about my father is that he got the moniker father of the Tenderloin and then grandfather of the Tenderloin. So I had my perspective on why he should be called the father of the Tenderloin, but then I had to ask some other folks as I was preparing for this why they thought he was the father of the Tenderloin. So to me, I see him as the father of the Tenderloin because he is famous or infamous, depending on your point of view, for having a nonprofit own an SRO to provide supportive housing. First one, west of the Mississippi, nonprofit to own an SRO providing supportive housing. So of course, that's everywhere within the Tenderloin now. So in that way, he was a father of the Tenderloin. Some of you raised your hands. I'm going to put you on the spot again. I'm going to have you raise your hand one more time, but this time, if you actually met Leroy Looper. Okay, good. Or my mom. Okay, Helen. All right, we got three. Okay, now, man or woman, if you met him, I apologize. He was a man of his era. You probably got hugged and kissed against your will because he was a very caring, loving person. And like any father, he loved you unconditionally. In some ways, he loved you for your flaws. And if you knew him, you knew he was a flawed man, and he knew he was a flawed man. And so in that way, he was fatherly or grandfatherly. He was going to give you the advice you didn't want to hear. He was to give you the advice you didn't want at that time, and he might give it to you the way you didn't want it at that moment. But always when you look back, you realize it was exactly what you needed. One quick anecdote. My dad always tried to help me, always. And so I would call at some point and say what I was doing, and he never really understood what I was doing, but he said, you got to call these 20 people, they can help you. And I call, 5, and he'd pound me until I got to all 20. And none of the 20 could help me. He was totally wrong, but he was always right, because it was always one of the good ones. A person I didn't need for that thing he thought I needed, but I needed them because they were good people to have in my life. And in that way, he was always right. He's important to know for something Randy Shaw said in his kind of send-off to my dad after he died. I'm going to read just so I can quote Randy Shaw correctly. This is Randy Shaw speaking in his Beyond Cron post after my dad had passed. During one of our ongoing strategy sessions in his Cadillac office, Looper explained, and I still remember his exact words, we've got too many problems in the Tenderloin to be fighting each other. We need to get along. I don't have to love people I'm working with or even like them, he laughed. But we need to keep everyone together to get things done. And in many ways, that's his legacy. I won't go through all of the alphabet soup that would say to some way he had his fingers on their work, but where I work now, TLCBD, TNDC, THC, CCDC, Tenderloins AIDS Network. And so his story is not a black story, except that he is one of the people you should know who happen to be black, because you're going to see him just like I get to every day. If you go on the 500 block of Ellis, there's a well-done rendering of Dell on this mural. And my dad, not so well rendered. It looks like a Roblox character, but he's there. He's there. All right, well, there you go. He's right next to Father Bodecker. There's a mural that is almost totally rolled out on the corner of Jones and Golden Gate. He's still there. You got to go. He's real small in there. My mom got rubbed out, but somehow they got like a little force field circle. You can see my dad sitting there. He's on a mural on the east side of Jones between Golden Gate and McAllister. Still surviving. That one's almost rolled out, but still surviving there. And then on the PG&E building, another not so well rendered version of him, right, as they're documenting some of the main things in the Tenderloin. So he stood tall. He was a huge energy in the Tenderloin. He was about giving people second chances because he had second, third, fourth, fifth chances. Yeah. He never graduated from anyone's elementary school, anyone's middle school, anyone's high school, but figured out how to get a master's degree. But he cared about not only giving somebody food in their mouth or a place to live. No problem with people focusing on one thing. He wanted to make sure you were well-rounded, that you got multiple services. So that's one of the reasons he brought the first Sizzler to the Tenderloin, now where the Tenderloin Museum is. Right? So people could get jobs, not just a room. There was a reason that he brought his program working with ex-offenders to the Cadillac Hotel. So he always was running halfway homes, right? But that's just a place before you get to another place. But here you can be in a place and then maybe stay in that place. He always cared about the front of his place being clean, but wasn't gonna stop with the front of his doorstep. Bringing people together to clean the whole Tenderloin. Part of the reason he was one of the founding directors of Clean City, a board I get to sit on now, right? To make sure the whole neighborhood is clean. So I'll end where I started. You need to know Leroy Looper. On September 11th, a number of us in this room honored the fact that a tower fell. Some of you were thinking about what happened in 9/11 in New York, but it's when my father died, and we're remembering his life and his impact that goes on in rooms like this, where we understand that we go faster on our own, we go farther together. Thank you.